This conference will now be recorded.
There you go.
David, you're the chair.
I'm what?
You're the chair.
You're in the meeting.
You're chairing the meeting.
I'm chairing the meeting? Why is that?
Yes, you are. You're the vice chair.
You're the vice chair.
Oh, I'm the vice chair?
Yeah,
So I didn't know I was the vice chair.
kind of like John Taylor replaced Tippecanoe.
Okay, all right. So this meeting will come to order. So our agenda. So first we should handle it. Just, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
There's three of us.
Yeah.
Okay. So some discussion and action items. Gail, when you talk about your Baystate Wing Community Health Needs Assessment?
Sure, I'm ready to do that. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me on the agenda. I guess just a couple of quick questions, because again, I feel like I'm, getting reoriented to the board. It's been a while since I was on it, and with new leadership, new board members, and new staffing. One quick question I have is just whether, as a group, you all have talked about the Baystate Wing or any other community health needs assessment as a group in the past? No?
Not since I've been here.
Okay,
No,
great.
we haven't.
So if you're not familiar, stop me if, whatever I'm saying might be repetitious, but just a quick thumbnail, and in the interest of full disclosure, earlier this year, I worked as a paid consultant part-time with the Public Health Institute of Western Mass that was involved with a bunch of community health needs assessments that local hospitals have to do. So in summary, every 3 years, every nonprofit hospital in the country, based on IRS regulations as well as our state attorney general's requirements, they have to do a community health needs assessment. So they have to get an idea of, particularly in their service area, what are the health problems that are continuing to challenge the community? What are some newer emerging health needs that are out there? What are some of the particular populations that are at highest risk for some health concerns, along with looking at the social and often the economic situation as well in the service area. So Belchertown is part of the Baystate Wing community, their service area based on how Baystate Hospital and Baystate Health Systems defines the service area for Baystate Wing. I would also say as well, so that was the one that I was involved with, but given where we're located and given the geography of Belchertown, Cooley Dickinson Hospital also often references Belchertown in their community health needs assessment that they would have had to work on. So for 2025, as I noted, I worked on the wing one earlier this year. The final reports will come out in the fall. So I guess one of my thoughts or suggestions, and the board can think about it, I know we only have 3 members here tonight. Once the report comes out, if it would be helpful, either myself or somebody from the Public Health Institute could be a part of a meeting and just give you an idea of what was learned. Because I feel like although not every health issue that's in a health assessment is going to have any particular policy making or regulatory enacting implications, I feel like it's just helpful as a Board of Health member to know what are some of the current health issues, what are some of the things that are needed in the region to improve health. Out of that health assessment, every hospital has to come up with a strategic plan for how are they going to contribute to improving health based on what is learned in the health assessment. And that document might be helpful to us in the fall and into the coming next 3-year cycle as well, just to know what they're planning to do and how they expect to improve health. And how maybe there might be ways to partner around some initiatives that come out of this health assessment. So that's why I just wanted to bring it up. It was also kind of triggered for me when we had the district-wide meeting and the folks from DPH were doing that report and assessment that the staff filled out. That maybe, just some general more information about what we see as the needs in the region might be helpful.
Sounds good.
I don't
Thank
know
you.
if you have questions.
Well, so you'll let us know when that's available and we can probably schedule, it sounds like October or something
Yeah,
like
I would say probably October would be a good time. At that point, the written report will be out. The Public Health Institute works with all of the hospitals in the area. And Baystate likes to have each of their 4 hospitals' reports kind of look the same, although obviously the information in them is different. But typically the Public Health Institute will make a short slide presentation as well. So again, whether maybe one of their staff or whether honestly, they might ask me to do it. Yeah, we could definitely, I'd say, let's take a look at October.
Gail, what are the 4 hospitals? Obviously, there's Baystate and Springfield and there's Wing. What are the other 2?
Yeah, Baystate
Franklin.
Wing, Franklin, and then Noble Hospital, Baystate Noble and Westfield. So those are their current 4 hospitals, each of which does their own community health needs assessment. And then I know Baystate as a health system often looks at, is there a particular issue that's common across all of our hospitals that they also put into their strategic plan? So for example, in the past, all 4 hospitals had determined that youth substance use was a concern across all of them. So they tried to do some initiatives around that in all of the hospitals. But then each hospital also has to come up with what's unique to your area, your service area, and where as a hospital can you contribute to some health improvement, knowing that your primary mission as a hospital is to deal with people and managing their health concerns, chronic and acute, health issues, health needs.
So is it worth looking at Cooley Dickinson's or even Holyoke's?
It might be,
Yeah.
it might be, just because I do know, I think depending on, I even know for myself, depending on where, say you need emergency room care, depending on where you are in Belchertown, you might go to Northampton or you might go to Palmer, or even to Holyoke, like you said. So yeah, once all of the hospitals in the area have completed, there'll be written reports, they'll be online on their websites. So it might not hurt to take a look at what Cooley Dickinson sees
Mhm.
as in its service area, particularly sort of us at the eastern edge of their service area, as well as what Holyoke Medical Center sees. Obviously, different areas, sometimes unique issues that come up in those areas. But then there's some stuff that's common, I think, across pretty much all of Western Mass that's hard to avoid, like transportation always comes up as a challenge for everybody. So I guess I'll keep you posted, once we know. I did a review of the draft of the Baystate Wing final report as part of my work with the Public Health Institute. That was a little while ago, so they're going to take probably the rest of the summer to finalize the actual report itself. And then they release it to the public, release it to everyone, and we can dive in and see what they have to say.
And would we just be pulling data specifically about Belchertown, or would you?
There is some. That's a really good question. Part of the challenge, particularly with some of the smaller towns in the Wing service area, is that sometimes it's hard to find data. So you'll see a mix in the report where they can. They definitely pull out, particularly like Ware, Palmer, Belchertown, Ludlow. Sometimes those communities are big enough to have data town specific, and then they also look at some county-wide data. Like a lot of other groups, the challenge with Wing's report is that it crosses 3 counties. So you have Hamden, Hampshire, and Worcester County towns that are in their service area. So sometimes it's hard, it feels like you can look at what countywide data is, but it might not be that relevant for Belchertown, because Hampden County is so overwhelmed by Springfield, Holyoke, and Chicopee and Westfield data that sometimes it's hard. But yeah, it'll be a mix of data where they could get local town data. They do their best to have that. The other thing I would say too is if at any point the Public Health Institute, which is based in Springfield but really covers and serves all of Western Mass, they've got expert data people who can dig deeper if you need and want them to. And because they're a public health institute, they can make special requests of the state health department to get data, where sometimes it's a little hard for the average lay person to dig it out. They can put in requests for specific data. And yeah, they'll take a look at, whatever they have town by town as well as.
Yeah, I think that'll help steer the board in a direction to make decisions, like policy decisions, where we want to see additional public health initiatives going towards.
Right.
That are going to
Exactly.
make a difference.
Right, exactly. And, hopefully it also may help staff think about, are there initiatives and partnerships and new ideas or new ways of looking at some of these health needs where, for example, it might make sense for the Quabbin Health District to be a part of it because there are, or at least to, know what they're up to, for example, what's in their plan. So that you can see how does it dovetail with what the 3 boards of health are looking at. So.
And these needs assessments, they won't be affected by the federal budget cuts.
No, these are actually, it's a really good question because we
Yeah.
were talking earlier about
Yeah.
how so much could be affected by that. These are, because the hospitals are mandated to do it, they actually have to put money in their own budgets
Okay.
to cover the cost of doing the needs assessment, creating the reports, and they have to report all of that to the IRS and to the state attorney general. So no, it shouldn't affect any cuts at the federal level. Hopefully doesn't affect their need and requirement to do these assessments.
Thank you, Gail.
Sure,
Thanks, Gail.
no worries.
So next we've got Janet Lipscomb, animal inspector resign.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's really good too.
I know.
She's a good fit.
Uh.
So we do not have anybody yet to fill that position. I believe she is going to be with us until August 15th. That's her last day. So, we have some people that we're going to reach out to that are, that have farm animals that, might be interested in being an animal inspector for the town. To reiterate, like the job duties is annual barn inspections, which happen in the fall, all through winter. So the barn books come in through the Department of Agriculture, and usually that's in September, and they have until the end of December to fill them out and to send it back to the state. But that just involves, locating. Usually there's a list that comes with it that the Department of Agriculture has from the last barn book. And they visit all the people in town that have farm animals. It's not just a working actual farm, but even if they just have a horse,
Right.
or have some chickens, they're subject to undergo an annual barn inspection. And it's looking at the animals to see if they have any sort of visible presence of illness or disease, and then making sure they have the basic accommodations, adequate housing if needed, food, water, it doesn't look like there's any abuse or neglect going on. And if there are any concerns, the Department of Agriculture would be contacted, and they have somebody that they would send out to do further investigation. But this is just getting a count, how many animals they have, what kinds they have. Does everything look good for the accommodations, and then the individual signs? It's considered confidential information, so the slip from the barn book stays with the property owner that has the animals, and then The animal inspector gets a copy, and then the copy that gets retained in the book gets mailed back to the Department of Agriculture. So they have all of those contained in the book from the barn inspections. And then the other part is doing rabies quarantines when as needed. So that's usually if there's like a report of a domestic animal biting another domestic animal or human. That's like a 10-day rabies quarantine for the animal that bit under suspicion of having rabies. And that requires the animal inspector to issue a quarantine order, visit the animal, make sure the animal appears okay, give the person the slip, and then wait 10 days, come back after 10 days and make sure the animal is still alive. They usually go over the quarantine requirements. Typically, you want to keep the animal in the house. If it's a dog that goes out, put him on a leash to go to the bathroom and come back. You don't want to be exposing the animal to other people or other animals.
Is that any animal? Like, no, I mean,
The 10-day quarantine.
rabies is a concern from carnivores or omnivores. It's like a chicken or a rabbit or a horse. You're not talking about those animals.
No,
Okay,
domestic.
Domestic, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about barn.
Usually it's a dog or a cat.
Yeah.
That bites. And then, there's other quarantine for animals, like a dog or a cat that has a wound of unknown origin. Depending upon their vaccination status, they would be quarantined for either 45 days if vaccinated or 4 months if not vaccinated. And so the animal inspector kind of goes over the quarantine requirements, there's a slip, there's a quarantine order that gets filled out, and there's usually a visit to the property to see the animal, and then a visit after the quarantine is over to give them the release of the quarantine and to visibly see the animal to make sure the animal is still alive. So, it's not a terrible amount of work. I think our budget is what, like $5,000. And then we do pay mileage, and it's $25 per inspection, like $25 per barn inspection and per rabies quarantine, and $25 for the follow-up quarantine to have to go back and check. And then they get mileage. So it's a pretty good, I think it's a pretty good, it's a stipend that we usually give them, but we just need to find somebody that would be interested in filling that role. Per diem, but they need to be able to respond timely with the quarantines.
Right.
So the barn inspections, they can usually kind of do on their own time, make their own schedule for it and work with the property owner.
And some questions. First, does this require any kind of certification or training?
There is no certification, but the Department of Agriculture does have it's a training video that they put together from one of their meetings, and I do have that available to email the new inspector. It's, I think, maybe 2 hours, maybe a little bit more than that, and it goes over the barn inspections and the rabies quarantines and the slips and how to fill them out properly. And then it's really referring them to the Department of Agriculture website, because that has all the information for animal inspectors, the forms, the job requirements, and the contacts for who to contact at the state.
Second question, is there anybody in either Ware or Pelham or even other towns nearby who would want the additional workload? Who's doing this in Amherst or Ludlow?
Yeah, good question, right?
A lot of people, you say it's not a lot of work. A lot of people might want to double their workload to half time or something. Worth in contacting them if you don't have anybody in mind.
I mean, I think in where we use Tom Kolarski, he does work. I don't know if he would take on the extra work, but I could reach out to him because he has been the animal inspector for the Board of Health in Ware for many years. And we'll also reach out to the other contacts that we have for people that we think might be interested. So hopefully we'll be able to find somebody to nominate, before.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, $5,000 is not a lot of money, which means not a lot of hours, which means
No, and that's what we
you
have
might be
budget.
able to get somebody who would like to do more than that. It's just worth asking, and it might be helpful to have somebody experienced.
Mhm. Andrea, do we know whether, like now with the shared group of the mill towns, do they have? No, they don't have anybody who does any of their animal inspections. They don't.
No, because they service, where
Oh, okay.
they don't do,
They
they don't
don't-
do animals, it's
they don't.
all just animal control.
Okay, gotcha. So it's all under,
Mhm.
gotcha. So in other places, this function is under animal control.
Some of them.
Yeah, for some of them.
For some,
Okay, yeah.
and for some, it's still under the Board of
Board of
Health,
Health,
where
right.
the Board of Health is the nominating authority
Right.
of that person, but, I know in Ludlow, it used to be the Board of Health that we had the budget for, and it, got sent over to animal control. So the
control,
animal
right.
control officer also was now the animal inspector, and then the
Functions
Board of
as
Health budget just went right over to the animal control, and then that person just gets nominated by the
Right,
Board of
by
Health
the
every
Board of
year.
Health every year, right.
Yeah, so it varies.
Right.
Sometimes you get an animal control officer that wants to take on that, sometimes they don't want
They
to.
don't want to, yep.
It would be easier if it was a dual role, because
Right.
both fall under like
Mhm.
Department of Agriculture guidelines.
Right, right, yeah.
Okay, so on to regular business. We should review and approve the meeting minutes of June 11. And does anyone have
Mr.
questions?
Mr. Chair, I had made a proposed correction, which Mary, I think, has implemented, which is we were the first municipality to adopt enact a prohibition on kratom. And I think it's in a revised version.
Oh, you know what? I'll make the amendment now. For the amendment.
You want him to repeat what the amendment was?
No, I got it.
Okay.
I,
It just wasn't, it's not.
right,
That's fine.
so, right, I'll amend the minutes to that.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
I move to accept the minutes as corrected.
Yeah, I would want, I would vote to accept it, but I just have a question on the, under the last paragraph. So 248 Amherst Road, they were going to repair this by July 2025. That was last meeting. Do we have an update? Have they repaired it? They did?
They're ready for a final inspection.
Yay, okay, great.
Great, cool.
Good news, okay. So I
Guys, so-
second,
Oh, go ahead.
you voted,
Ken
approve, I
made the
second.
motion.
Ken made
Yeah, I
the
move
motion.
to accept them as corrected.
I second, and all, say yay?
Roll call because this is a dual meeting.
It's a dual meeting, yep.
It's a dual meeting?
You gotta
Right, when
call
you do
out
a
names.
hybrid, when you do a hybrid meeting, you need
Oh,
to have a
okay.
roll call.
All right, roll call, Ken?
Aye.
All right, Gail?
Aye, vote
Okay,
aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimously approved. So, and you signed the warrant, Ken, on June 30th?
I
On the
did.
basis. Okay, so, thanks for the updates on the Eastern equine encephalitis. I just sent you an email about a couple little things.
Yes, about the DEET.
Yeah, and all that stuff.
Natural.
Who, those are just there, who originally wrote those? Did they just,
Department of Public Health.
the state?
Yeah.
The state does, okay, great.
They said as a template press release. You
Okay.
just fill it in with the town and any other information that we want, so that was just.
And do you all know about the DPH website where you can just keep refreshing it to see if there's any other Tripoli or West Nile virus. You can go online. I've got it
You
on
could
my
go, you could
computer.
go find it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Oh.
DPH thing. I was impressed with their templates of press releases. It was sort of all, every scenario you could think of. A mosquito, an animal, a person, Tripoli, West Nile. So it makes it easier for the local people, I think, to do it, but.
Let
Sorry,
me
Ken.
let me say for anybody who's watching this or the tape of this, the point of this was that Tripoli was found in a mosquito in Belchertown. It's the first municipality in the state to have it this year. And you might remember that back in, I think it may have been 2013. I did look that up. It created major problems for the town because we were concerned that Tripoli, which is a dreadful disease, a horse died here at that point of Tripoli. And the result of that was a whole number of changes were made by various entities of town government, such as we did not have the fireworks after the town fair, various team events, late afternoon, evening practices, and like Friday night sports events were changed to the daytime in order to protect the kids, everybody
To do
against
it
trick-or-treat.
all.
So we really need to keep an eye on this. I don't think the Board of Health itself did it, but the school committee acted.
We actually, it was a joint effort, Ken. I was on the Board of Health at that time, and we met because it was in September and there was concern about school was in session as well as the fair was coming up. We actually had, and this group obviously is the leader on any kind of health recommendation or, kind of action to take. But we met jointly with the select board and the school committee and the Board of Health. I get, all of what you're saying is true. I think when it got to the point of the horse being affected and also at that juncture, there was way more widespread Tripoli, not only in the western part of the state, but in other parts of the state as well. So on a statewide level, there was a lot of concern. There was also a lot of West Nile virus that particular year. So yeah, there was a lot of concern about, obviously we keep an eye on it. It's only July. But yeah, that time in September, there was conversation, I'll be honest, there was conversation about whether or not holding the evening activities at the fair would be halted or not, but we agreed as those multiple boards together that we would just do the best we could, get the insect repellent out there, tell people if you're going to be at the fair at night, hopefully it's cool enough, wear those long sleeves, the pants, all of that, so that we didn't necessarily curtail, other than the fireworks, those activities. Because that's really hard to do with the fair being such a big event. But we should definitely keep an eye on, as I'm sure we will. But I kind of like that website where you can just go on there and take a look and see where is the West Nile virus and where is the Tripoli. And I think we're still just at one, right? We're just still at one mosquito. So fingers crossed.
Thank you for your institutional memory, Gail.
Well,
I
you
knew
can.
there was a good reason to get you elected.
Because it was that September timeframe,
Yeah.
everybody immediately was worried about not only, like you said, after school sports and all the stuff that goes along with school being back in session, but a lot of concern. We were trying to be sure we were keeping the public health in mind, but also, taking action that made sense, trying to find that balance. But yeah, no question, it is a horrible disease, thankfully rare. So anybody watching this, going forward, take those precautions for sure.
The little girl did contract it in Orange,
Yeah.
and she survived, but because of HIPAA rules, we don't know what the final result was.
Yeah.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So move second.
Okay,
second that.
aye.
No, roll call.
Gotta do a roll call.
Okay, Ken,
Aye.
Gail?
I
Okay.
vote
I
yes
say
to
aye.
adjourn.
All right. Let's adjourn.
Thank you.
Sign. Okay.
Do you need our signatures on the warrant?
1 minute.
Okay.